All right, we're back. So example D, same thing, we are simplifying. We want to answer in a plus bi form, and we're going to reduce all fractions. Here, just throwing an I into it is not going to get rid of the I in the denominator. This is where, when we have a binomial, this is where the concept of complex conjugates comes into play. So if I want to get rid of the I in the denominator, and I have two parts, then I want to multiply by its complex conjugate. And I'm going to show you how that gets rid of the i's. So the complex conjugate just says if I have an a plus bi, its complex conjugate is a minus bi, and vice versa. So if I have an a minus bi, its complex conjugate would be a plus bi. So essentially what I'm saying is you multiply by the same binomial, except in the middle, instead of a minus, I'll have a plus. Or instead of a plus, I would have a minus. I just want to change the sign of the imaginary part. The first part does not change. The real part does not change. So -1 would stay -1. But instead of minus 3i, I would have plus 3i. And whatever I multiply the denominator by, I have to multiply the numerator by. You have to do the same thing to the top and the bottom. Okay? So this is what I will multiply both parts by. And again, it's called the complex conjugate. And all it is you change the sign of the I. If it was a minus, you would change it to a plus. If originally it was a plus, you would change it to a minus. And you multiply the top and the bottom by the same thing. Well, my numerator here is just 1, so that's easy. 1 times -1 is -1. 1 times 3i. Oh, we want to keep these separate. Well, no, we'll keep it for now. 1 times 3i is 3i. All right. In my denominator, I would FOIL. -1 times -1 is +1. -1 times 3i is -3i. And then -3i times -1 is +3i. And -3i times +3i is -9i squared. Okay, when I go to simplify this, I'll notice in the denominator that the -3i and the +3i cancel. This will always happen. When you multiply complex conjugates, your middle terms will always cancel. So all I have is a 1, and it's -9i squared. You should know by now that I squared is equal to -1. So -9 times -1, this is really a +9. I squared is just going to change the sign of its coefficient. All right? So this is really a +9. My 1 plus 9 can add up, and it'll give me a 10 as my denominator here. So if I wrote this in a plus bi form, that means I want to separate them. I would have my -1 over 10. And plus, I would have my 3i also over 10. And that would be my final answer. And again, you can write it with the I up here, or if you wanted to, you could say -1 over 10 plus 3 over 10 and throw the I off to the side. They are both acceptable forms. All right, number 2. So I want to start off by multiplying by the complex conjugate, which means it should be the same binomial, except your sign will change. The sign of your I will change. So I had a plus to begin with. That means I'm going to multiply by a minus. Oh, it's in my way. Okay, whatever I multiply the denominator by, I need to multiply the numerator by the same exact thing. So -2 minus I multiply the top and the bottom by the same thing. Right, my numerator, I'll just distribute this -2. -2 times -2 is 4. -2 times -I is a +2i. In the denominator, I could FOIL, but there is a pattern to this. Remember I said that the middles will always cancel out? The end is always going to have an I squared. So my pattern, my formula I put up here, it is always a squared plus b squared. So if you have an a plus bi, you multiply by a minus bi, you will always get the first number squared plus the second number squared. All right, my a squared plus my b squared. Well, my a is clearly the 2, right? Well, the negative 2. That's not what I meant to put there. That is my a. A squared plus b squared. My a is negative 2, so it'll be a negative 2 squared plus my b. B is the number that comes in front of I. B is not I. B is never I. B is the number in front of I. It is its coefficient. And if I don't see 1, that means it's a 1. My b is 1. I hope you're with me here. And if you don't get what I'm doing, you can just go back to foiling. Remember, your middles will always cancel out. But if you do, this will end up being a lot faster the more we do it. So, negative 2 squared is a positive 4, plus 1 squared is a 1, and 4 plus 1 gives me 5. All right, my denominator is 5. So, if I separate it and write it in a plus bi form, I have 4 over 5 over 5 plus 2 over 5. And again, I can put the I up top or I can put it off to the side. All right, that is example D.